Hello, my dears. In this video, I'm going to answer May-June 2020, paper 1 and 2, variant 1, 2, 3. The diagram shows what happened in an experiment with plant seedlings. Which characteristic of living things made the seedlings grow towards the light? Look at the diagram. Here the light. Light is stimuli, and plants respond to the light. So here, which characteristic of living things of plant made the seedlings grow towards the light? Yes, movement and sensitivity. So the correct answer is D. Because sensitivity is being able to detect and respond to internal and external stimuli. Here, external stimuli, the light, and the plant responds to the light by moving or grow towards the light. A rat has the scientific name Rheticeratus. What do the two parts of this name refer to? The first name, genus, the second name, species. So the correct answer, A, genus and species. It's called the binomial system. Uses two names for each species, a genus name and the name that apply to one species in the genus. An animal can swim, has a backbone, and produce milk. To which group does it belong to? Has a backbone. All vertebrates have a backbone. And vertebrates have 5 groups: amphibians, fish, mammals, reptiles, birds. And produce milk. The only group that produce milk is mammals. So the correct answer, C. Like whales and dolphins can swim, has a backbone, and produce milk from mammals. The diagram shows two guard cells. Which label show the cell wall? Yes, the correct answer, D, because here A, chloroplast, and this one, nucleus, and B, this cytoplasm, and C, vacuole. So the correct answer, D. What is the correct order to describe an increasing level of organization? Yes, cell, tissue, an organ, and organ system. So the correct answer, D. Which diagram show the appearance of a plant cell several minutes after it has been placed in a concentrated solution of sugar? Which one? Yes, the correct answer, A, because the solution outside the cell is more concentrated than in the vacuole. So water passes out of the cell by osmosis. The other question, when you put the same question, which diagram show the appearance of a plant cell several minutes after it has been placed in pure water? Yeah, the correct answer becomes C. So the cell becomes turgid. The apparatus shown is used to demonstrate osmosis. The mass of the dialysis tubing and contents was 11.2 gram at the start of the demonstration and 9.4 gram at the end. Which solutions would cause this change in mass? Here mass decrease. Why? Because water has diffused out of the cell by osmosis. So the correct answer B, the solution B, 10% salt solution, concentrated solution, and Q, 5 salt solution. Here what happened? Water diffused out from Q to B by osmosis. So what happens to the content? The mass decrease. Which food testing solution show a positive result when it turns from blue to purple? A, Benedict solution? No, from blue to orange to detect reducing sugar. Ethanol, colorless to cloudy white or milky color. Detect fats, because fats will dissolve in ethanol, forms emulsion. Iodine solution, no, yellow or light brown to blue black. Detect starch. The correct answer is B, Barrett solution. Detect protein. What is the definition of an enzyme? Let's see the definition of enzyme. A catalyst speeds up a chemical reaction and remains chemically unchanged at the end of the reaction. Enzymes are protein produced by organisms that speed up chemical reactions. They are known as biological catalysts. Enzymes are important because they control the rates of the reactions that support all life. So the correct answer, enzyme, is a protein that acts as a catalyst. The correct answer, D. 4 test tubes are set up as shown. Which test tube contains the most carbon dioxide after 1 hour? A or B or C or D? Yes, the correct answer, A. Why A? Because the rate of respiration greater than the rate of photosynthesis. Because here, black polythene or foil to keep out light. Here, no photosynthesis, but the rate of respiration increase. So here, the percentage of carbon dioxide increase. The other question like this, 4 test tubes are set up as shown. Which test tube contains the least carbon dioxide after 1 hour? Yes, the correct answer, C. Because here the rate of photosynthesis greater than the rate of respiration. Which substance found in a healthy diet helps to prevent constipation? Yes, fiber. Fiber is made, it is made mainly of cellulose from plant cell wall and cannot be digested, is an important part of diet. High fiber foods include like this: cabbage, sweet corn. Fiber adds bulk to our food. Since it is not digested, it passes down the entire gut from mouth to anus and doesn't provide any energy. So the muscles of the gut wall need something to push against. Fiber helps the movement of food in the alimentary canal by peristalsis, so preventing constipation. The activity of amylase is measured in 4 parts of the alimentary canal. Which 2 parts have the most amylase activity? Yes, mouth and duodenum. Because mouth, yes, inside mouth, salivary glands produce saliva that contains amylase. And duodenum, pancreatic juice, also contain amylase. But stomach, gastric juice that contain protease or protein. After passing through the root hair, after passing through the root hair cells of a plant, what is the next tissue through which water passes? Yes, the next tissue, cortex, the cells of cortex. Then water passes up the stem in the xylem. From which part of leaf does most water evaporate during transpiration? Yes, the spongy mesophyll cells. Because the large air spaces that extend throughout the spongy mesophyll provide a very large surface area for the evaporation of water. Which blood vessel carries blood to the muscle of the heart? The coronary arteries branch from the base of the aorta just above the semilunar valves. They transport oxygenated blood to the tissues of the atria and ventricles. So the correct answer A, but pulmonary artery to lungs, renal vein from kidney, comes from kidney, vena cava to right atrium. The diagram shows a section through the heart and its blood vessels. Which row gives the vessel name and the direction of blood flow in vessel X? Yes, the correct answer B, pulmonary artery, because aorta away from the heart, not towards the lung. And also here, away from the lungs, pulmonary vein, and vena cava towards the heart. So the correct answer of the vessel name, pulmonary artery, and the direction of the blood towards the lung. What is the chemical barrier to pathogens? The skin and hairs in the nose are mechanical barriers. So A and B not correct. Mucus in the airway and acid in the stomach are chemical barriers. So the correct answer C. But what about white blood cells? The second line of defense, not the first line, like nose hairs and skin and stomach acid, but nose hairs and skin mechanical barriers. Stomach acid and mucus chemical barriers. What is the approximate percentage of oxygen contained in the air breathed out of the lungs? Yes, breathing out, the percentage of oxygen, 16. The diagram show an experiment to investigate the respiration of yeast. Oil prevents oxygen entering the glucose and yeast suspension. If no oxygen is present in the glucose and yeast suspension, what will occur? Yes, what happened? An aerobic respiration, because no oxygen. Glucose is broken down to release energy in the absence of oxygen, forming lactic acid in muscle tissue. But here, alcohol plus carbon dioxide in yeast and plants. So the correct answer B, ethanol will be produced and the lime water will go cloudy with the presence of carbon dioxide due to presence of carbon dioxide. So lime water will go cloudy. What happens during respiration in germinating seeds? Yes, aerobic respiration. Glucose is broken down to release energy in the presence of oxygen, forming carbon dioxide and water. So the correct answer C, glucose is used up by the seeds during aerobic respiration. Which row describes the urine produced by a person who is exercising on a hot day? On a hot day, the volume and concentration of urine depends on the intake of water and how much water has been lost in sweat during exercise and in hot weather. So the correct answer, the concentrated and small volume of urine. What is the function of the optic nerve? Optic nerve here carries nerve impulses away to the brain from the retina to the brain, from the retina to the brain. What causes the development of female secondary sexual characteristics? Yes, estrogen. Estrogen stimulates the development of the sex organs and secondary sexual characteristics in a girl's body as she starts to develop into an adult. But adrenaline production for emergency, menstrual cycle starting, estrogen, evolution occurring, LH hormone. But what causes the development of female secondary sexual characteristics? Estrogen. But what causes the development of male secondary sexual characteristics? Testosterone in male. The diagram shows cross-section of skin. Which part produces substance which cools the skin when it evaporates? Yes, sweat. This substance. So sweat glands produce sweat. So the correct answer B. Graphitropism and phototropism are names given to specific plant growth responses. How do shoots and roots normally respond? Let's talk about phototropism and gravitropism. Phototropism, the seedling in the photo have been put in a window for some time. The shoots grow towards the light, the positively phototropic, and in gravitropism, roots are positively gravitropic because they grow in the same direction as the stimulus gravity. They grow downwards into the soil to absorb water and mineral ions, but shoots negatively gravitropic. What is the definition of phototropism and gravitropism? Examples of the chemical control of plant growth. So here for phototropism, the shoots grow towards light, so positive, but roots negative for phototropism. What about gravitropism? Roots positive, but shoots negative. So focus here. For phototropism, towards the light, the shoots positive. For gravitropism, towards gravity, roots positive. Let's back to the question. A direction of growth of shoots for light towards the light, positive. But for gravity, negative, away. The direction of growth of roots for light away and gravity towards, positive for gravity. Which type of infection could be treated successfully with antibiotics? Yes, antibiotics for bacteria. Antibiotics are a group of chemicals that are made by microorganisms, bacteria and fungi. So antibiotics are prescribed by doctors and vets to treat and cure human and animal disease caused by bacteria and fungi. What takes place during fertilization? Fertilization occurs when the male gamete nucleus from the pollen or sperm cell fuses with female gamete nucleus of an egg cell or inside an ovule. So what happens here? Two gametes produce one zygote during fertilization. What is the transfer of pollen from an anther to a stigma? It's called pollination, because pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther of the male part of the flower to the stigma of the female part of the flower. What happens to the uterus lining during menstruation? During menstruation, what happens to the uterus lining? Yes, breaks down. Here in this part. The diagram of the female reproductive system show where different methods of birth control can be used. Where would an IUD be placed? Intrauterine device. Yes. Inside what? Inside where? Inside uterus. So the correct answer, A, the correct place. What is defined as the length of DNA that codes for a protein? Yes, the correct answer, gene. Gene is a length of DNA that codes for a protein. But chromosome is a thread of DNA carrying genetic information in the form of genes. When damaged tissues or repaired cells undergo division by mitosis to produce genetically identical cells. Because mitosis produces cells that are exact copy of the parent cell, and these daughter cells have the same number of chromosomes and are genetically identical to the parent cell and important for growth and repair and replacement and sexual reproduction. Pea plants produce either yellow or green seeds. Yellow is dominant to green. What are the most likely phenotype of the offspring of a cross between YY and Y capital Y small? Yes, 100% yellow. Because yellow, Y is dominant. So the correct answer, 100% yellow. The graph shows the masses of two different types of tomato. What can be concluded from the graph? A, genes do not affect the mass of tomatoes, cannot be concluded from the graph. Type A tomatoes show continuous variation because here a range of value. Type 2 tomatoes are sometimes smaller than type 1 tomatoes. No, it's bigger. Type 2 tomatoes show discontinuous variation. No, continuous variation also. So the correct answer, B, type 1 tomatoes show continuous variation. So they change gradually over a range of value and by genes and the environment. The diagram shows simple food chain: grass, gazella, and lime. The arrows show the energy flow through the food chain. What does the grass obtain its energy? Yes, from the sun. The diagram shows a food chain in a rock pool. In a rock pool, seaweed and eels and crabs and seagulls. What will happen if the number of secondary consumers, the crabs, increase? Yes, fewer quilts. What is the rule of anaerobic respiration in bread making? Yes, produce gas, carbon dioxide gas to make the bread rise. A crop plant has been genetically modified to make it resistant to herbicides, which is possible disadvantage of introducing the new crop plant. Yes, some weeds might become resistant to the herbicide because here herbicide resistant crop scientists have added genes to crop plants that make them resistant to herbicides. This means that less herbicides need to be used. However, there are disadvantages to creating these plants. For example, the potential development of herbicide-resistant weeds and loss of biodiversity because fewer weeds survive and resulting in reduced food and shelter for animals. So the correct answer B. Which is an example of undesirable effect of deforestation? Yes, increased flooding, because deforestation has resulted in a number of environmental problems, extinction of species, and loss of soil, an increase in flooding, and increase of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So the correct answer C, increased flooding. Wheat is often grown in large areas as a monoculture. What is a negative environmental impact of this method of farming? Let's see the negative, the disadvantage. Destroying area of natural vegetation between fields reduce biodiversity. So the variety of species in the area are reduced. So the correct answer A. Paper 1, second variant, variant 2, which list contains only arthropods? Yes, arthropods contain 4 groups: crustaceans, and myriapods, insects, and arachnids. So the correct answer B. The diagram shows a plant cell. A biologist wants to find out the number of chromosomes it contains. Which labeled part should be examined more closely? Yes, the correct answer A, nucleus. Because nucleus contains genetic material. What are leaves examples of? Yes, leaves examples of organ. Uncooked pieces of potato of identical size were placed in different liquids for 1 hour and then measured. Which liquid will cause a decrease in size? Yes, shrink of the piece of potato. Yes, when we put it in sugar solution more concentrated than the potato cell contents. So what happens here? Water passes out of the cell by osmosis. So the vacuole shrinks and decreases in size. The diagram shows the four types of human tooth. Which teeth are used for grinding food? Yes, molars and premolars are for grinding and chewing of food. So the correct answer C, 3 premolar and 4 molar. The diagram shows a plant cell. In which part of the cell does photosynthesis occur? Yes, chloroplast. So the correct answer D. The green structures called chloroplast. The green plants use light energy to convert carbon dioxide and water from their surroundings into simple sugars. This process called photosynthesis. The graph shows the effect of pH on the activity of an enzyme. In which part of alimentary canal would this enzyme be most active? Yes, stomach. Because inside the stomach, the pH 2. pH 2. But inside mouth, 6.8. Small intestine, 9. The diagram shows the human heart and main blood vessels. What is the blood vessel labeled X? Labeled X? Yes, this comes from lungs to the heart, the pulmonary vein. So the correct answer is C, pulmonary vein. What is the site of gas exchange in humans? Yes, alveoli. Gas exchange occurs between the air in the alveoli and the blood in the surrounding capillaries. The substances listed are associated with aerobic respiration: carbon dioxide, glucose, oxygen, water. Which substances are the products of aerobic respiration? the products of aerobic respiration, carbon dioxide and water. What about glucose and oxygen? These are reactants, not products. The diagram shows the breathing system. What are labeled structures? 1, 2, and 3. 1, trachea. And 2, bronchus. 3, bronchioles. So the correct answer, C. The diagram shows the human excretory system. Which labeled structure is ureter? Yes, ureter, C. The urethra. And B, renal artery and renal vein. So the correct answer, C. Which structure transfers information to the central nervous system? Let's revise this part. Sensory neurons transmit impulses from sense organs to the brain and spinal cord, to the central nervous system. So the correct answer, D, sensory neuron. What about motor neurons? Motor neurons transmit impulses away from the brain and spinal cord to effector organs, to muscles and glands. Relay connector, relay or connector neuron, short and these are short and pass on impulses from sensory neurons to motor neurons inside the brain and spinal cord. Examples of response to hormones are listed: increased breathing rate, increased pulse rate, growth of body hair, widened pupils. Which responses are caused by the hormone adrenaline? Adrenaline increasing your breathing rate. So the correct answer, 1. Increasing your heart pulse rate. And 2, widening your pupils so the more light enters your eyes. And 4. So the correct answer, B. 1, 2, and 4 only. Which part of the eye focus light? Yes, lens can change its shape to focus light onto the retina. The diagram shows a plant shoot growing towards the light. This is called phototropism. Which statement about antibiotic use in humans is correct? Yes, different types of antibiotic are used because bacteria can become resistant to one antibiotic when we use only one antibiotic. Which conditions are always required for the germination of seeds? Yes, oxygen, always, because here said always. Oxygen, suitable temperature, and water. What about light? Light, not always. Because germination of seeds in light and in dark. So the correct answer, D, oxygen, suitable temperature, and water. Why water? Allows the seed to swell up, which causes the seed coat to burst, allowing the growing embryo plant to exit the seed, and also allow the enzymes in the embryo to start working so that growth can occur, to increase metabolic activity. Oxygen requires for respiration so that energy can be released for germination. Warmth, germination improves as temperature rise up to a certain point, as the reactions which take place are controlled by enzymes, which cannot function effectively when temperatures are too low. Carbon dioxide is not necessary for germination, but also doesn't inhibit it. It makes no difference whether it is present or not. What about light? Dark or light, no problem, but not always need light. Where do fertilization and pollination occur in a flower? Pollination is complete when the pollen grains land on the stigma. So pollination is stigma. What about fertilization? Yes, fertilization. If a pollen grain lands on a ripe stigma, it starts to grow a pollen tube to take the male nucleus to the female nucleus. Fertilization occurs when the male nucleus fuses with the female nucleus inside the ovule in ovary. So fertilization ovary, pollination stigma. When do the following stages occur in a typical human menstrual cycle? Bleeding and ovulation. Bleeding, yes, here 1-4, menstrual flow and menstruation, and day 14, ovulation. Egg released from ovary enters fallopian tube. So the correct answer, D. The graph shows the number of pregnancies in 4 groups of 100 women. Each group used a different method of contraception. The method of contraception which is the most effective is, yes, chemical, because contraceptive pill and intrauterine device. Yes, chemical, contraceptive pill and IUD. No, the correct answer B. The photograph show a tiger. Which visible adaptive feature makes the tiger a good predator? Yes, large teeth. Because here, whiskers not long, and ears not small, and the fur not thick. So the correct answer is A. Which statement about the human sex chromosomes is correct? Females have an X chromosome and Y chromosome? No, it's not correct. It's for male. Females have 2 Y chromosomes? No, it's wrong. Males and females have at least 1 X chromosome? Yes, male XY and female XX. Because male XY and female XX. So males and females have at least 1 X chromosome. Males and females have at least 1 Y chromosome? No, because females XX do not contain Y chromosome. The diagram shows the inheritance of height in pea plants. Which plants have a heterozygous genotype? Yes, both offspring plants have heterozygous genotype. What about parent plants? No, parent plants, both homozygous. Dwarf parent plant also homozygous. Homozygous individual has 2 identical alleles of a gene. Heterozygous individual has 2 different alleles of a gene. So the correct answer, the offspring. Both offspring plants. T capital, T small. 2 different alleles of a gene. Which is an example of population. Population is a group of individuals of the same species living in the same habitat at the same time. So the correct answer, C. All the mahogany trees growing in a forest. Group of individual of the same species and living in the same habitat at the same time. The diagram shows the results of survey on the types of animals found along stretch of river near to a factory. Which animal lives in the least polluted water? Yes, stonefly nymph. This place, least polluted place. The other question, which of the following animals lives in the most polluted water? Yes, bloodwort. Bloodwort. By which process is undigested waste material removed from the body? Digestion. Because digestion is the passing out of food that has not been digested or absorbed as feces through the anus. But what about absorption? Movement of small food molecules and ions through the wall of the intestine into the blood. Assimilation, the movement of digestive food molecules into the cells of the body where they are used, becoming part of the cells. Ingestion, taking of substance, food and drink into the body through the mouth. The graph shows 4 areas of forest that were cut down and then replanted with trees in one part of the world between 1995 and 2015. Which area of forest was used most sustainably? Sustainable resource is one that can be removed from the environment without it running out. Examples are forest and fish stocks. Forests can be conserved using education, protected areas, and quotas and replanting. So the correct answer B is here the same. Paper 1, variant 3. Explorers have found an unknown animal living in a rainforest. The animal lives on land, but has also been seen in water. Lays soft-shelled eggs on land. Doesn't have gills. Has scaly skin. 1 meter long. Doesn't produce milk. To which group is the animal most likely to belong? Amphibians? No. Because amphibians in some of stages have gills and also eggs with a jelly-like texture, not soft-shelled eggs on land, in water, and also smooth and slimy skin, not scaly skin. So A is wrong. Arthropods, no. Mammals produce milk, but here doesn't produce milk. So the correct answer, reptiles. This information about reptiles. Onion plant cells swell but do not burst when placed in distilled water. Which cell component prevents the onion plant cells from bursting? Yes, cell wall. Because it's wrong. Cell wall stops the cell burst and the cell is turgid. The diagram shows part of the human body. Which level of organization does the diagram show? Yes, the organ system, the digestive system, the group of organs, not cell, and not organism, not the whole body, not tissue. Which statement about active transport is correct? Active transport, the movement of ions or molecules across the cell membrane against concentration gradient using energy from respiration. So the correct answer D, particles move across cell membrane using energy released by respiration. Which statement about enzyme controlled reactions is correct? During the reaction, substrate changes into product, because here enzymes are biological catalysts that increase the rate of chemical reactions. Enzymes catalyze reactions in which substrate molecules are converted to product molecules, either by building up or breaking down. Why do plants need nitrate ions? Yes, to make amino acid. Nutrients are needed for healthy growth of plants. They are used for a variety of purposes in plants. If these nutrients are lacking in the soil, then plants do not grow well and show certain symptoms known deficiency symptoms. Plants need nitrate ions to make amino acids, which are used to make proteins. As proteins are required for growth, plants deficient in nitrate show poor growth. The table shows the percentage of the daily recommended intake of nutrients in a serving of four foods. Which food would be the best choice to prevent scurvy? Yes, more vitamin C. This deficiency of vitamin C leads to the disease called scurvy. So the correct answer, C. The diagram shows some veins in the human arm and the valves that they contain. If blood is squeezed out of section X, Y, where should pressure be placed on a vein to stop blood flowing into this section again? Yes, the correct answer, C. Look here in this diagram. Valves open, one-way blood flow allowed. Here, valves closed, reverse blood flow not allowed. So the correct answer, C. The diagram shows an alveolus and capillary in a human lung. Which row show the correct gas and concentration for diffusion from X to Y in normal conditions? Yes, X, high concentration of oxygen, and Y, low concentration of oxygen, because oxygen diffuse into red blood cells from higher concentration to lower concentration. Which examples of respiration produce carbon dioxide? Yes, aerobic respiration in human muscles produce carbon dioxide and water and energy. Anaerobic respiration in human muscles? No, lactic acid. Anaerobic respiration in yeast? Yes, carbon dioxide and alcohol. So the correct answer is B. In which conditions do the leaves of a green plant photosynthesis? Yes, bright light, not dark. This photosynthesis, about photosynthesis. The diagram represents the flow of blood from the heart through the liver and towards the kidneys. Where is urea made? Yes, inside liver, because the amination is the breakdown of excess amino acids in the liver to form ammonia, which is made into urea. When a man steps on a sharp object, he moves his foot away very quickly. Here this is stimulus and here response. In which part of his body are effector cells involved in this action? Yes, the effector, the muscle. And this action called reflex action. Which row matches structures in the eye with their functions? Focus is light? Yes, lens. Here lens can change its shape to focus light onto the retina. So the correct answer D. Refract light? Yes, cornea. Refract light. Sensitive to light? Yes, retina, sensitive to light. Which organ produce estrogen? Yes, ovary. Ovary make estrogen and progesterone in females. What is meant by term phototropism? Phototropism, growth response to the stimulus of light, shoots positive, phototropic, and grow towards the light. What about graphitotropism? Graphitotropism, growth response to the stimulus of gravity. Roots are positively gravitropic, and shoots are negatively gravitropic. Drugs are substances that are taken into the body, which statement also apply to the definition of a drug. A drug is any substance taken into the body that modify or affect chemical reactions in the body. What does the drug heroin act as? Yes, heroin, a powerful depressant drug. It reduces pain and slow down breathing. It's highly addictive and users quickly develop tolerance for it, meaning they need larger and larger amounts in order to feel the same effects. This increases the risk of accidentally overdosing, which can cause death. The diagrams show pollen grains from 3 different species of plant. As they appear under the microscope, the diagram are all to the same scale. Which pollen grains are mostly likely to become carried by the wind? Yes, number 2 only, light and smooth. Here is sticky surface, and here also have hairs, and sticky is by insect or by animals. So the correct answer 2 is here. These pollen grains, light and smooth. The diagram show a human female reproductive system. Which structure does fertilization occur? Yes, A. The correct answer A is the fertilization form zygote in this place, fallopian tube. In this part. Which disease is an example of an STI? It's a sexually transmitted infection. Disease that is transmitted via body fluids during sexual contact. The major STI include HIV. So the correct answer, C. Fur color in cats is an observable feature. Which word is used to describe observable features? Yes, phenotype. Because allele version of a gene, genotype, genetic makeup of an organism, heterozygous has 2 different alleles of a gene, so the correct answer, phenotype. Which row show the 6 chromosomes in the body cells and gametes of a woman? Yes, here body cells, XX in woman, and gametes X, all X. So the correct answer, A. In mice, the allele for black hair is dominant to the allele for brown hair. Which proportion of offspring will have brown hair if a cross is made between homozygous black, B capital, and heterozygous black mouse, B capital, B small? No, 100% black hair. So the correct answer, A, 0%. Put this question about brown hair, but here no brown, all black. The diagram show part of the carbon cycle. X, decay by microorganisms, here carbon dioxide in the air, here X, respiration by decomposers, and here carbon dioxide used by green plants during photosynthesis. So Y, photosynthesis, and the X, respiration. So the correct answer, D. Chickens are birds that are farmed to produce eggs for human consumption. A type of chicken has been bred to lay more eggs. Which method would be used to produce this type of chicken? Yes, selective breeding. For selective breeding, artificial selection involves humans finding organisms with desirable features and crossing them and selecting the best form from the next generation. And also increased economic importance, like here, lay more eggs. Sewage treatment involves a number of stages. 3 of the stages are listed. Filter beds with anaerobic microbes to digest sewage, screens to trap large objects, settlement tanks to let insoluble particles sink. The correct order. Look at this picture to know the correct order. Look here, sewage input, and here screening. So the first one screens to trap large objects. So the correct order B. Screens to trap large objects. Then settlement tanks to let insoluble particles sink. And then filter beds with anaerobic microbes to digest sewage. Here anaerobic tank to digest sewage. Bacteria. Tertiary treatment anaerobic stage in which bacteria break down waste matter to methane in anaerobic conditions as a fuel. Paper 2, variant 1. The diagram shows different levels of organization in plant. Which sequence show the levels of organization in order from smallest to largest? From smallest, cell, number 4, and then tissue, number 2, and then organ, number 3, and then organism, number 1. So the correct answer, A. Plant cells are placed in a solution with a higher water potential. Then the plant cell contents. What will happen? The solution outside the cell is less concentrated than in vacuole, but higher water potential. So water passes into the vacuole by osmosis. So the direction of water movement enter the cell and volume of vacuole increase. So the correct answer B. The diagram shows the section of DNA with 4 bases identified on one strand. GACT. Which sequence of bases would be on the other strand starting from the top? Yes, G pairs with C. So the correct answer B. Start with C, and then A pairs with T, C with G, and T with A. A always bonds with T, and C always bonds with G. An experiment is set up to investigate gas exchange in aquatic plants. The hydrogen carbonate indicator solution is orange at the start. Which color is it after 3 hours? Yes, the correct answer, purple. Let's see the experiment. This experiment. Set up tubes with no leaf and foil, no sunlight, and leave in with little light, and leave in sunlight, lots of light. And use hydrogen carbonate indicator to measure change in carbon dioxide concentration. So control, no change. still orange. And here, no photosynthesis, becomes yellow. And here, still not change, because respiration and photosynthesis the same rate. But here, changes to the orange color, changes into purple, because more photosynthesis than respiration. This is gas exchange in plants. The diagram show how the rate of photosynthesis varies with light intensity. The four curves show different conditions of temperature and carbon dioxide concentration. What limits the rate of photosynthesis at point B? At point B, like this point, what happens? First, at point X, the light limited. Light intensity is limiting the rate of photosynthesis at point X. But another factor is limiting the rate of photosynthesis at point Y. This could be carbon dioxide concentration or temperature. So the correct answer, C. Biological washing powder can be used to remove stains on clothing. Which enzymes will remove stains? By starch, fat, and protein. Starch, amylase, and fat, lipase, and protein, trypsin. So the correct answer, B, amylase and lipase and trypsin. The graph shows the rate of uptake of magnesium ions by two similar plants, X and Y. The roots of each plant were placed in a range of solutions. Each solution contained different concentration of magnesium ions. All other conditions were kept constant. What is a possible explanation for a difference in the results for the two plants? Yes, plant Y has fewer protein molecules for magnesium ion transport in its cell membrane. Okay, this is about what? It's about magnesium ions are absorbed by plants and used to make chlorophyll. Leaves of plants deficient chlorophyll look yellow, a condition plant is this point. So this point is about roots, about active transport. Active transport. Because plant Y need magnesium like X. So plant Y has fewer protein molecules for magnesium ion transport in its cell membrane. Because here I need carrier protein to push magnesium molecule into the cell during active transport. What will increase the rate of transpiration in plant? Increase humidity? No. Decrease the rate of transpiration. So A is not correct. Increase surface area of cell surface inside the leaf? Yes. Increase the rate of transpiration. So the correct answer, B. Decrease the number of stomata? No. Because decrease the number of stomata, decrease the rate of transpiration. Decrease in temperature? No. Decrease temperature, decrease the rate of transpiration. The correct answer is B. Which pathway is taken by blood in fish? Yes, from heart to gills to body, then heart again. So the correct answer C, the one-way circulation. Here the factors that affect transpiration rate: light, transpiration increase in bright light, with the stomata open wider to allow more carbon dioxide into the leaf for photosynthesis. More water is able to evaporate. Temperature, transpiration is faster in higher temperature, because evaporation and diffusion are faster at higher temperature. Wind, transpiration is faster in windy conditions. Water vapor is removed quickly by air movement, speeding up diffusion of more water vapor out of the leaf. Humidity, transpiration is slower in humid conditions. Diffusion of water vapor out of the leaf slow down if the leaf is already surrounded by moist air. When a pathogen enters the blood, the immune system uses different mechanisms to destroy the pathogen. The diagram shows one of these mechanisms. X and Y. X, antibody. And Y, antigen. And the X is made by lymphocytes. So the correct answer, C. X, antibody. X is made by lymphocytes. And structure Y, antigen. Which row correctly completes the balanced equation for aerobic respiration? C6H12O6, glucose, plus 6O2 plus oxygen, and 6CO2 plus 6H2O. In healthy people, which substance is completely reabsorbed into the blood from the kidney? Yes, glucose. Because reabsorption, all of the glucose, some ions, and much of water are needed by the body. They are reabsorbed back into the blood from the kidney tubules. The reabsorption involves active transport. So in healthy people, the glucose is completely, all of the glucose, completely reabsorbed into the blood from the kidney tubules. The diagram shows synapse. What are the labeled parts? W, X, Y, Z. W, vesicles containing neurotransmitters, and the X, neurotransmitter. Y, the synaptic cleft, and Z, neurotransmitter receptor. So the correct answer, C, W4 vesicle and X neurotransmitter, and Y synaptic cleft and Z receptor. Which row show the actions needed for the eye to focus on a distant object? Look at this picture. In a distant vision, ciliary muscles relaxed and suspensory ligament tense and lens thin. So the correct answer D. Ciliary muscles relax and suspensory ligaments tighten and lens becomes thinner. Let's explain this part. If you are looking at a distant object, the ciliary muscles relax, but at near object, ciliary muscles contract. And distant object, when you are looking, if you are looking at a distant object, the pressure inside the eye pulls the suspensory ligaments tight, so the lens is pulled into an elliptical thin shape. Light rays are refracted as they pass through the lens and focused on the retina, the distant object in focus. So the correct answer, D. Ciliary muscles relax and suspensory ligaments tighten and lens becomes thinner. The liver and the pancreas work together to control the concentration of glucose in the blood. Which statement is correct? To control the concentration of glucose in the blood, the pancreas responds to a fall in blood glucose by increasing the release of the hormone glucagon. Here controlling blood glucose. Cells need glucose for energy and therefore need a constant supply from the blood. When you eat a high carbohydrate meal, your blood glucose concentration can increase by a factor of 20. However, it doesn't stay high because cells in the pancreas detecting high glucose concentration in the blood, these cells secrete the hormone insulin into the blood. Insulin stimulates liver cells to convert glucose into the storage compound glycogen. This stimulates the liver cells to absorb lots of glucose from the blood, so the concentration decreases and returns to normal. But when you run a race or carry out some other type of exercise, your muscles take up lots of glucose from the blood to provide the energy they need. Your blood glucose concentration decreases, but it doesn't keep decreasing. Other cells in the pancreas detect this decrease and secrete the hormone, another hormone, glucagon, into the blood. Glucagon stimulates liver cells to break down glycogen to glucose, which diffuses into the blood, so the blood glucose concentration increase normal. Blood glucose concentration is controlled by the pancreas, which monitors the blood glucose concentration and release hormones to instruct liver cells to remove glucose molecules from the blood or add more. So the liver and the pancreas work together to control the concentration of glucose in the blood. The pancreas responds to the fall in blood glucose by increasing release of the hormone glucagon. The statements are about the use of antibiotics. Number 1, using antibiotic to prevent infection. Number 2, using antibiotic known to kill the bacteria causing an infection. 3, using antibiotic only when essential. 4, using antibiotic to treat a viral infection. Which practice will increase the chance of development of antibiotic resistant in bacteria? Yes, 1 and 4 only, using antibiotic to prevent infection. We shouldn't be used. Antibiotics shouldn't be used in non-serious infections. And also, Antibiotics shouldn't be used to treat viral infection, because we use antibiotic to treat bacterial infection, not viral, not virus. Which description of cross-pollination is correct? Cross-pollination, transfer of pollen from anthers of one flower to stigma of another flower, but on a different plant, but same species. So the correct answer A, transfer of pollen grains from anther of one plant to stigma on a different plant. But transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma on the same plant is self-pollination. The diagram shows a sperm cell. Which part contains enzymes that digest the jelly coat of an egg? Yes, the correct answer D, was a chromosome containing enzymes. These enzymes digest the jelly coat of an egg cell. Which cell contains haploid nucleus? Yes, sperm cell, because neuron, diploid, skin cell also diploid, red blood cell, no nucleus. So the correct answer B, sperm cell or egg cell. The diagram shows the chromosomes of 4 daughter cells produced by meiosis. Which parent cell produced these cells? Look at this diagram. Here, two pairs of chromosomes, like ovary cell. Here chromosome duplicate, and here 4 egg cells are formed. Haploid, all haploid, but here diploid. So the correct answer B. Which adaptation may be present in xerophytes? Xerophytes, plant adapted to live in extremely dry conditions. Common adaptations include thick waxy cuticle, sunken stomata, maybe sunk in pits in the epidermis, leaf rolled with stomata. So the correct answer is stomatal hairs and rolled leaves. What is defined as all of populations of different species in an ecosystem? Yes, community. What about environment? It's ecosystem. Habitat, the place. Trophic level, the position of organism in a food chain or food web. So the correct answer A, community. All of the populations of different species in an ecosystem. Which process in the nitrogen cycle is involved with the breakdown of amino acids in living organisms? Yes, deamination. Amino acids convert to urea. Decomposition, protein and urea to ammonia. Denitrification, nitrate ions to nitrogen gas. Digestion, proteins to amino acids. So the correct answer A, deamination, amino acids to urea. When river is polluted by fertilizer, the following process may occur. Increased aerobic respiration of decomposers, increased growth of producers, decreased oxygen concentration in the water. What is the correct sequence for these processes? Yes, increased growth of producers, then increased aerobic respiration of decomposers, then decreased oxygen concentration in the water. Here, fertilizer can be washed through the soil into rivers and streams. The rivers may flow into a lake. Once in the water, stimulates population growth of algae. Nutrients in the fertilizers are usually in low concentration in the water, and so limit the growth of the algae. Animals that eat the algae do not multiply fast enough to control their growth.
Algae cover the surface layers of water, reducing the light reaching plants at the bottom of the lake. These plants eventually die and rot on the riverbed. Algae also die as there is competition for resources and they are shaded by the algae on the surface. So the composers such as bacteria feed on dead plants and algae. Bacteria respire aerobically and multiply rapidly and use up a lot of dissolved oxygen. So the concentration of oxygen decreased and they kill fish and invertebrates that cannot respire properly. So the correct answer 2, 1, 3, increased growth producers, increased aerobic respiration of decomposers, and decreased oxygen concentration in the water. Paper 2, variant 2. The diagram shows a human liver cell. The length of structure M on the diagram is 6 millimeters. The magnification of the diagram is 2000. What is the actual length of M? Actual length equals image length divided by magnification. But here 6 millimeter. 6 millimeter multiplied by 1000 to be micrometer, like this, like actual length. So 6 multiply 1000 divided by 2000 equals 3 micrometer. An uncooked piece of potato was placed in a solution. After 2 hours, the size of the piece of potato had decreased, which explains why this has happened and how the potato cells have changed. Yes, water potential. In potato cells, higher concentration. So water passes out of the cell by osmosis to external solution that lower in water potential. And what happens to potato cells becomes flaccid. When plant cells are placed into concentrated sugar or salt solution, water passes out of the cells by osmosis. As water passes out, the cell vacuole starts to shrink. The cells are no longer firm and become limp. We say that they are flaccid. Enzymes function best at their optimum temperature. Which statement describes the effect on an enzyme of increasing the temperature to enzyme optimum temperature? Increasing temperature of an enzyme controlled reaction increases the rate of reaction up, this one, to a maximum which occurs at the optimum temperature. This is because greater kinetic energy is causing a greater number of collisions between enzyme and substrate molecules. At higher temperature, the rate of reaction becomes decreased until it stops acting as a catalyst. This is due to a change in shape of the active site, which means the substrate can no longer fit and the enzyme is now denatured. So the correct answer A, there are more frequent successful collisions when you increase the temperature to the enzyme optimum temperature. The diagram shows the structure of villus. The arteriole, capillary, lacteal, and venule are labeled with letters, which letter show where nutrients are absorbed into the blood. Yes, B. Here, B. Let's see, the small intestine has a folded inner lining with millions of tiny finger-like projections called villi. The epithelial cells lining the villi have macroscopic projections called macrovilli. These vastly increase the absorptive area of the cell membrane of the epithelial cells. Here, in this place, amino acids and sugar molecules are absorbed through the thin villus wall into the blood capillary. But in this place, fatty acids and glycerol are absorbed into the lacteal. Here, lacteal, lymph capillary, this blood capillary.
In this place, most of the water in the gut is absorbed into the blood. After that, blood takes food molecules away to rest of body. So the correct answer, B. Which change increase the rate of water uptake by the roots of a plant? Water passes down a water potential gradient from a high water potential in the solution in the soil to a lower water potential in the root hair cell. So the correct answer, D. Decrease in water potential of root hair cells. This change increase the rate of water uptake by roots of plant by osmosis. Dodder is a plant that grows on other plant called the host. The dodder plant connects to the host vascular bundles. The dodder plant doesn't have green leaves or roots, what correctly describes the regions for translocation. The horse leaves and dodder. The horse leaves is the source, the beginning of journey of translocation. And dodder is saying the end of the journey. Because here translocation is the movement of sucrose and amino acids from the leaves to regions of respiration for growth and storage. Regions of production like host leaves are called sources. Region of storage or respiration and growth called sinks. So the correct answer, C. Host leaves are source, but dodder sink. The diagram shows single circulation of fish and double circulation of a mammal. Which letters represent areas of oxygenated blood? Oxygenated blood, the area S is oxygenated, and also Y, oxygenated. But X and Z, deoxygenated here, R and T, deoxygenated here. So the correct answer, B. The following statement about immunity. The transfer of antibodies from mother to baby in breast milk is an example of passive immunity. Yes, and also temporary immunity is correct. Passive immunity results in long term? No. Because of production of memory cells? No. This sentence about active immunity. Active immunity is gained after vaccination with antigens? Yes. And also after infection by a pathogen. Which statement are correct? 1 and 3 only. 1 and 3 only. Because passive immunity is a short term, not long term. Defense against pathogens using antibodies from another individual, like mother's milk. And also no memory cells are produced in passive immunity. The formula C2H5OH represents a chemical produced during anaerobic respiration. What is this chemical? Yes, this chemical, alcohol. What is filtered out? The blood in the glomerulus into the kidney tubule. Correct answer, A, glucose and urea. Let's explain this part. Blood containing waste chemicals flow into the kidney in the renal artery. Inside the kidney, the renal artery branches many times to give arterioles. Each of these arterioles supply blood to a closely packed group of capillaries called glomerulus. After filtration, the blood flow out of the glomerulus into another arteriole. It then flow into capillaries around the rest of the tubule, which eventually join to form the renal vein. Each kidney tubule starts with a Bowman's capsule. This is formed by the end of tubule being pushed in like the finger of a rubber glove. The glomerulus is found inside the Bowman capsule. Okay. The kidneys are close to the heart, so the blood pressure in the renal artery is high. You can see that the blood vessel entering the glomerulus is wider than the one leaving it. Here a blood with waste chemicals, urea. So there must be more blood entering the glomerulus than there is leaving it. This causes pressure to increase inside the glomerulus. It's rather like a bottleneck situation. It is this pressure that causes the blood to be filtered. The lining of the capillaries is like a net with tiny holes in it. Blood cells are large molecules, like blood proteins, are too big to pass through the capillary lining and so stay in the blood. Small molecules like urea and glucose, ions and water pass out of the glomerulus and into the Bowman's capsule. It is in this space that the filtrate collects. So the correct answer here, what is filtered out of blood in the glomerulus into the kidney tubule? Glucose and urea. Which response occur in the iris of the eye when a person walks from brightly lit area to a dim lit area? From bright, circular muscles relax and radial muscles contract. So the correct answer C. Which glands are endocrine glands? Endocrine glands like pancreas, ovaries, testes, adrenal glands, and pituitary glands is endocrine glands. So the correct answer is A, adrenal and pancreas and testes. Because salivary and sweat glands and not endocrine glands. What are the effects of insulin and adrenaline on the concentration of blood glucose? Adrenaline stimulates an increase in the rate of chemical reactions within the body to provide enough energy for increased levels of activity. Adrenaline stimulates cells in the liver to convert glycogen to glucose, which diffuse into the blood. So the effect of adrenaline on a blood glucose concentration increase, so that there is more available to muscles as a source of energy for muscles contractions needed for sudden action, but no needed for insulin, because insulin convert glucose into glycogen. But here we need glycogen to convert to glucose. Here effect of insulin on blood glucose concentration decrease, but adrenaline increase. Asexual reproduction can be used to produce crops. Why might a disease be likely to spread throughout the whole crops? Because crop plants are genetically identical. Because asexual reproduction, here asexual reproduction. Disadvantage of asexual reproduction. Here all genetically identical. and none may have resistance to the disease, and they may all be killed. And disease could spread very quickly. Which response occur in the iris of the eye when a person walks from dimly lit area to brightly lit area? Yes, circumferential muscle contract and radial muscle relax. Which is the result of the release of adrenaline? Release of adrenaline, increase in blood glucose concentration, because adrenaline increase breathing and pulse rate and stimulate widening of the pupil in fight or flight situations, and also increase supply of oxygen and glucose to muscles during activity. Here's the effect of adrenaline. Adrenaline speed up the conversion of glycogen to glucose for fight or flight. Blood glucose level increase, and normal blood glucose here level. Here no need insulin, no need for insulin, but we need glucagon. And adrenaline, because glucagon here stimulates level cells to break down glycogen into glucose. Here, adrenaline and glucagon. But we don't need insulin here. In low blood sugar, we don't need insulin, but we need glucagon and adrenaline. So adrenaline increase and glucagon increase, but insulin decrease. In a comparison between the process of artificial insemination and vitro fertilization, which statement applies to IVF only? IVF only, human egg cells are harvested from the ovary, but donated sperm cells are used to fertilize the egg cells. This is for artificial insemination. Childless couples are given the opportunity to have a child of their own. Both fertilization occurs inside the body of the female, also artificial insemination. So the correct answer, A. Because the term in vitro means in glass. It's used to describe procedure that takes place outside the body, not inside, like artificial insemination. The diagram shows half a flower. There is a description of each numbered part. The stigma which receive pollen from insects, the anther which produce both light pollen grains, the ovule where fertilization occurs when the male and female nuclei fuse. Which description is correct for insect pollinated flower? Insect pollinated flower, yes, number 1 and 3 only. Stigma which receive pollen from insects, and ovule where fertilization occurs when the male and female nuclei fuse. But number 2 is not correct. The anther which produces smooth and light, this for wind pollination. What is diploid nucleus? Diploid nucleus means nucleus containing 2 sets of chromosomes. One from mother and one set from the father. Which statement about meiosis is correct? Parent cell contains twice as many chromosomes as each daughter, because each daughter haploid, but parent cell diploid. Here N and here 2N, twice. But at end of meiosis, zygote has been produced? No, mitosis. This is the end of fertilization. End of fertilization. And during meiosis, haploid number is halved? No, diploid number is halved in the daughter cells. Meiosis reduction division? Yes, in which diploid daughter cells are produced? No, haploid cells are produced. So the correct answer D, the parent cell contains twice as many chromosomes as each daughter cell. Which is a reason for using bacteria in biotechnology? Yes, bacteria can make complex molecules, proteins like enzymes and antibodies. Microorganisms can be used by humans to produce foods and other useful substances. The most common type of microorganisms used in biotechnology are bacteria. They are useful because they are capable of producing complex molecules. Examples, certain bacteria add to milk, produce enzymes that turn the milk into yogurt. They are also useful because they reproduce rapidly. Reproduce rapidly, not slowly. Meaning the amount of chemicals they can produce can also rapidly increase. But here bacteria are found inside the human body, not from human body only. Bacteria do not become resistant to antibiotic. No, maybe become resistant to antibiotic. Bacteria reproduce slowly? No, rapidly. So the correct answer C, bacteria can make complex molecules. Proteins like enzymes, antibiotics, and antibiotics. Paper 2, variant 3. The diagram show an onion plant, epidermal cell, distance between X, Y. On the diagram, 60 millimeter. Actual length of cell between X and Y was 150 micrometer. What is the magnification of the cell? Magnification, image size divided by actual size. Image size, 60 multiply 1000 equals 60,000 micrometer divided by 150 micrometer. Actual length equals 40. So the correct answer C, 40. 400. Sorry, 400. The diagram show two adjacent plant cells. Which statement describes what will happen to the water in the cells? Cell X, high water potential. Cell Y, low water potential. So net movement from X and Y by osmosis from high water potential to low water potential, from left to the right. Water potential is a way of thinking about the ability of water to move by osmosis. This is influenced by how much water is available, but also by other factors such as pressure exerted on water in plant cells by the cell wall. It is more accurate to say that dilute solution containing a lot of water molecules has a high water potential. Concentrated solution containing fewer water molecules has a low water potential. There is a water potential gradient between two sides of the membrane. The water molecule is diffused down this water potential gradient from a region of high water potential to a region of lower water potential through partially permeable membrane. Increasing temperature above the optimum for the enzyme results in loss of enzyme activity. How is this explained? Yes, the shape of the active site changed and the substrate will no longer fit into. Because increasing temperature of an enzyme controlled reaction increase the rate of reaction up to maximum, which occurs at optimum temperature. This is because the greater kinetic energy is causing greater number of collisions between enzyme and substrate molecules. At higher temperatures, the rate of reaction decrease until it stops acting as a catalyst. This is due to change in the shape of the active site, which means the substrate can no longer fit. The enzyme is now denatured. So the correct answer, D, the shape of the active site is changed and substrate will no longer fit into it. But A, less frequent? No, more frequent between the enzyme and substrate. Reduced kinetic energy? No, increased kinetic energy of the enzyme molecule. Substrate molecules move faster and the effective collision are less likely? No, more likely. The diagram shows a villus in the small intestine. What is absorbed at X? At X, lacteal, this lymph capillary, fatty acids and glycerol are absorbed into the lacteal. So the correct answer A, fat. Sunflower is a plant that grows in coastal areas. It has adaptations that enable it to live in areas with high salt concentration in the soil and strong winds. Which adaptations would a sunflower possesses to minimize, to decrease water loss from root cells by osmosis and leaves by evaporation? Yes, salt concentration on root cells high and low water potential. So water doesn't diffuse from the root cells to outside, and also leaf surface area, low surface area. This decreases the rate of evaporation, the rate of transpiration. So the correct answer B, salt concentration in root cells high and leaf surface area low, because here we wanted to decrease water loss from root cells by osmosis and decrease the water loss by evaporation from leaves. Which row correctly states the pair of conditions that will result in the highest rate of transpiration? Highest rate of transpiration, increased temperature and decrease humidity and increase light intensity. So temperature high and humidity low. This will result the highest rate of transpiration. Temperature increase, humidity decrease. For temperature high, humidity low. Diagram shows some of blood vessels leaving and returning to the heart. X and Y. Y, pulmonary vein, from lungs after gas exchange to the left atrium, and contains oxygenated blood. And the X, from body through vena cava, carries the oxygenated blood to the right atrium. So name of X, vessel X, vena cava, carries the oxygenated blood, and Y, pulmonary vein that comes from lungs after gas exchange to the left atrium, carries oxygenated blood. Vaccination can be given to gain active immunity, which is a bit about this type of vaccination is correct. Vaccination triggers antibody production in the body. Vaccination involves putting small amount of an inactive form of a pathogen into the body. Vaccines can contain live pathogens treatment to make them harmless, not harmful. So B is not correct. Toxins produced by pathogens, dead pathogens. These all contain antigens. So here vaccination triggers antibody production in the body, not triggers antigen. So D is not correct. And also vaccination contains antibody, not correct. Contains live pathogens, treatment to make them harmless or harmless fragments, toxins, dead pathogen, but no antibodies. When injected into the body, they stimulate lymphocytes to produce antibodies that can recognize the pathogen. Some lymphocytes develop into memory cells. If the vaccinated person later becomes infected again with the same pathogen, the immune system is prepared and the required lymphocytes are able to reproduce rapidly and destroy it. This means that the person is unlikely to become ill. High oxygenated blood enters the heart through the pulmonary vein, and the oxygenated blood leaves the heart through the aorta to the body, and oxygenated blood enters through the main vein, vena cava, to the right atrium. The simple equation for aerobic respiration is shown. Which numbers represent the letters shown? The equation as x, y, z. X, 6, x, 12, y, 6, and z, 2, CO2. So the correct answer, D, 12, 6, 2. Blood glucose level is kept between 5, 7 per cubic decimeter. The concentration of glucose in intestine varies and is often less than the value. What would be required for the absorption of glucose into the blood? Again, when the concentration of glucose in the intestine is less than 5 mole per cubic decimeter. Yes, we need active transport from lower concentration to higher concentration. So we need aerobic respiration, we need mitochondria, and also we need oxygen and membrane proteins. We need membrane proteins or carrier protein. Here glucose molecule enters carrier protein. Carrier protein changes shape, and carrier protein pushes glucose molecule into the cell. Here active transport across the cell membrane. Here inside cell and here outside cell. Against concentration gradient, we need energy, we need aerobic respiration, we need mitochondria to do aerobic respiration and produce energy, we need oxygen and carrier protein 1, 2, and 3. The diagram shows synapse between motor neuron and relay neuron. What passes from P to Q? P to Q, yes, neurotransmitter released here in this place. What change occurs in fight or flight situation? Here, adrenaline increase breathing and pulse rate and stimulate widening of the pupils in fight or flight situation, and the increased supply of oxygen and glucose to muscles during activity. What happens when a person enters a very hot room? Yes, sweating increase and vasodilation increase. This diagram, sweat glands excrete sweat, which cools the skin as it evaporates, and vessels dilate to increase blood flow to skin, and here erector muscles will relax. It was here by radiation. So sweating increase and vasodilation increase. Here vessels dilate to increase blood flow to the skin. Which disease is caused by a virus? Yes, AIDS, because kwashiorkor by protein deficiency, cholera and MRSA infection by bacteria, which Rowe described across cross-pollination. Cross-pollination means transfer of pollen from anther of one flower to stigma of another flower on a different plant but same species. So the correct answer, C. A flower on plant pollen transferred from anther to the stigma of a flower on different plant but same species. So the correct answer, C. The diagram shows the head of sperm. What the function of structure X and Y? X mitochondria release energy. Y acrosome release enzyme to digest egg cell jelly coat. So the correct answer B. X release energy for movement, mitochondria, and Y acrosome release enzymes, digestion of egg cell jelly coat. Which row describes what happens in the production of protein? First, the sequence of bases on DNA codes the correct sequence of amino acids. The role of messenger RNA is it to copy the DNA code and carry it to the ribosomes in the cytoplasm. Finally, the ribosome assemble amino acids into protein molecules. So the correct answer C. What forms the genetic code? Sequence of bases forms the genetic code, codes the correct sequence of amino acids in the protein, and messenger RNA carries copy of a gene to the cytoplasm. Which statement about meiosis is correct? Meiosis produce gametes, yes, but produce haploid cells, not diploid cells, and produce different, genetically different cells, not identical cells. Identical cells is for mitosis, and produce cells for growth of tissue, no, is mitosis, about mitosis. So the correct answer, C. The diagram show the inheritance of ABO blood groups. The blood groups of some of individuals are given. Okay, the 4 groups of the human ABO blood group system are determined by one gene with 3 different alleles. ABO. The alleles A and B are co-dominant and code for slightly different molecules on the surface of red cells, red blood cells. The allele O is recessive to both A and B and doesn't code for one of these molecules. Look at the table, you can see the possible genotypes of for each blood group. AA and AO for A, BB and BO for B, AB, and OO for O. يبقى هي genotype 6 genotype but 4 blood group. The number of genotypes here 6 genotypes and 4 phenotype ABO. Let's see the question. 1 and 2 is a parent or grandparent. First, look at 6 and 7. 6 O. O is recessive. OO only. But 7 A and O. A and O or A. So look at the 5. 5O only OO. Look at the 4. 4 only AO. Why? To give O individual O and O. So AA is not correct. So 4 AO and 5 OO and 6 OO and 7 AO. What about 1 and 2? We want here AO. How to get AO? To get AO only from AO and BO. Look here at the Punnett square. AO, the parental genotype, AO for blood group A, this one, and 2 BO for blood group B, gives BO number 3 and AO number 4. We want this one and this one. Then AO meet with O, the blood group O and the blood group A The parental genotype AO. And give one O and one AO only. So the correct answer for 2, the person to genotype BO. So the correct answer C. Focus here, please. And try to start the answer with 6 and 7, then 5 and 4, then 2. Thanks for watching this video. Goodbye. See you next time, inshallah.